Good morning. We're here to delve into a case that has captured headlines and sparked intense debate across the nation. The Karen Read case has gripped the nation, dominating news cycles and social media feeds alike. It's a story filled with twists, turns, and unanswered questions, evolving from what seemed like a small-town tragedy in Canton, Massachusetts, into a complex saga of love, loss, a relationship cut short, and intense controversy that continues to fuel passionate arguments on both sides. At its center, Karen Read, a woman now at the center of a legal storm, a former finance professor whose life has taken an unimaginable turn. She stands accused of killing Boston police officer JohnOKeefe, a dedicated public servant. The man she loved, a relationship now under intense scrutiny. The trial has become a full-blown public spectacle, drawing attention from around the globe, with every detail dissected in Norfolk Superior Court, where the legal battle unfolds, and relentlessly analyzed online, in comment sections and news articles. Supporters are fiercely divided, some convinced of her guilt, others equally certain of her innocence. Some see Read as unequivocally guilty, believing the evidence points to her involvement. Others see her as the victim of a cover-up, a pawn in a much larger, more sinister game. The prosecution claims a relationship in turmoil, marked by conflict and escalating tensions, led to a fatal act, a tragic and irreversible event, while the defense alleges a conspiracy, suggesting that other forces were at play, and a flawed investigation, raising serious questions about the integrity of the evidence. Now, 12 jurors, ordinary citizens tasked with an extraordinary responsibility, must sift through conflicting stories and evidence, weighing each piece carefully as they seek the truth, to decide her fate, a decision that will have profound consequences for all involved. Their deliberations mark the final chapter, but the impact of this case will be felt for years to come. In a case that's captivated and divided a community, leaving deep scars and raising difficult questions, the verdict will bring either closure, a sense of resolution, or more questions, further fueling the debate. For Canton, Massachusetts, this case has become a defining moment, a test of its values and its sense of community. And for everyone following this story, it's a reminder of the complexities of justice and the power of human drama. This is more than a trial. It's a reflection of our society, it's a test of truth, a search for answers in a sea of uncertainty, justice and the pursuit of fairness in a system that is often imperfect, and the power of public opinion, how it can shape perceptions and influence the course of events. Let's examine how we got here, tracing the events that led to this pivotal moment. To truly understand the complexities of this case, to grasp the nuances and the weight of the evidence presented, we must first understand the man whose life was tragically lost. We need to delve into his character, his relationships, and the impact he had on those around him. JohnOKeefe was a respected Boston police officer, a man who dedicated his life to serving and protecting his community. He was known throughout the force for his unwavering dedication and remarkable bravery over 16 years of dedicated service. He wasn't just a badge, he was a symbol of commitment. Beyond his professional life, he was also a devoted family man, a pillar of strength and support for those closest to him. In a testament to his selflessness, he stepped up as guardian to his beloved niece and nephew after a devastating family tragedy, providing them with a stable and loving home. Friends and colleagues alike describe him as exceptionally generous and deeply loving, a man who always put others before himself. He was often described as the anchor for those around him, the person everyone could rely on in times of need, offering unwavering support and guidance. His sudden and unexpected death left a deep and profound void in the lives of all who knew him, a void that could never truly be filled. This loss was especially devastating for the children who depended on him for everything, for love, for guidance, and for a sense of security. In the midst of this tragedy, John's relationship with Karen Read emerged as a central and highly contested element of the trial. By all accounts, they were together for approximately 2 years, a period marked by shared experiences and the promise of a future together. They enjoyed vacationing together, exploring new places and seemingly building a future filled with shared dreams and aspirations, though the prosecution, in their presentation, sought to highlight instances of conflict and underlying tension within the relationship. Certain text messages and voicemails, presented as evidence, suggested periods of strife and discord between the two. These communications became crucial in fueling the prosecution's theory that a fatal argument may have preceded John's death. The defense, however, presented a contrasting narrative, painting John and Karen as a loving couple deeply committed to one another. They argued that any disagreements or arguments were simply normal occurrences within a healthy relationship, not indicative of deeper malice. They insisted that John genuinely loved Karen, and that she, in turn, reciprocated that love with equal measure and devotion. This portrayal of their relationship made the prosecution's idea of intentional harm seem not only unlikely but almost unthinkable, given the depth of their connection. Ultimately, the jury faced the daunting task of carefully considering all the evidence and deciding which version of John and Karen's relationship to believe. That crucial decision, based on their interpretation of the evidence and the credibility of the witnesses, would ultimately shape the outcome of this complex and emotionally charged case. The events in question unfolded, a series of occurrences that would grip a community and ignite a legal battle. The details of that night are complex, shrouded in conflicting accounts and unanswered questions. It all began on a snowy night in January 2022, a night that started like any other winter evening but would soon take a tragic turn. The heavy snowfall and icy conditions would later become a focal point of the investigation. Karen Read and JohnOKeefe, along with a group of friends, spent the early part of the evening socializing, sharing drinks and conversation at a local establishment. Little did they know, this would be their last night together. The group eventually made their way to a party at the home of Officer Brian Albert, a gathering that would become a key location in the unfolding narrative. The atmosphere was casual, with friends and acquaintances enjoying each other's company. The timeline from there is hotly contested, a source of intense debate and scrutiny. Discrepancies in witness statements and conflicting evidence have made it difficult to establish a definitive sequence of events. The prosecution claims Read dropped O'Keefe off near the Albert residence, a seemingly innocuous act that would later be cast in a sinister light. They argue this was the last time O'Keefe was seen alive and well. The prosecution further alleges that Red, after an argument of some kind, struck him with her SUV, inflicting fatal injuries. This claim forms the cornerstone of their case against her. According to the prosecution, Read then left him in the snow as a blizzard raged, exposed to the elements and without any means of seeking help. The severity of the weather conditions adds a chilling dimension to their account. They say she drove away from the scene, never calling for help or alerting anyone to O'Keefe's plight. This alleged indifference is a key element of the prosecution's narrative. The defense counters that O'Keefe went inside the Albert residence, willingly entering the party. This challenges the prosecution's claim that he was left outside immediately after being dropped off. The defense argues that O'Keefe was attacked at the party, possibly by other attendees, and subsequently left outside by someone else. This shifts the blame away from Read and onto other potential suspects. In their version of events, Read was completely unaware of his danger or whereabouts, believing him to be safe inside the house. This paints a picture of Read as an innocent bystander, not a perpetrator. The defense maintains that hours later, when she realized she couldn't reach him, she and friends initiated a frantic search for him, driven by genuine concern for his well-being. It was Red herself who ultimately found O'Keefe's body, a discovery that would forever change her life and set in motion the legal proceedings that followed. He was found partially covered in snow, lying on the front lawn of the Albert residence, a grim scene that investigators would meticulously document. Despite desperate attempts to revive him, JohnOKeefe was pronounced dead at the hospital, leaving behind a grieving family and a community in shock. This tragic discovery launched a high-profile investigation involving state and local law enforcement, as they sought to unravel the truth behind O'Keefe's death. The case quickly became a source of intense division within the community, with some supporting Read and others convinced of her guilt, creating an atmosphere of suspicion and grief. The truth of what happened that night, the sequence of events that led to JohnOKeefe's death, remains the trial's central mystery, a puzzle that both sides are desperately trying to solve. Karen Read faced 3 major charges: second-degree murder, manslaughter while operating under the influence, and leaving the scene of a fatal collision. Second-degree murder alleged she acted with malice, not premeditation. The prosecution argued her actions during a domestic dispute led to O'Keefe's death. The manslaughter charge focused on alleged drunk driving, with evidence of drinking and bar tabs presented. Leaving the scene accused her of abandoning O'Keefe after the collision. Each charge required the jury to consider different elements and evidence. The prosecution painted Read as both responsible and remorseless, emphasizing her alleged flight from the scene. The defense challenged every aspect, insisting the investigation was flawed and the charges unfounded. The jury could convict on all, some, or none of the charges. Their deliberations would determine whether Read faced decades in prison or walked free. The complexity of the accusations demanded careful, methodical consideration. The stakes could not be higher. The prosecution, led by ADA Adam Lally, argued that Karen Read's anger turned deadly. They highlighted texts and a heated voicemail to show a strained relationship. Physical evidence, broken taillight pieces matching Read's SUV, was found near O'Keefe's body. A crash expert testified O'Keefe's injuries matched a vehicle strike. Witnesses claimed Read admitted, "I hit him," at the scene. The prosecution said her internet searches and failure to call 911 showed guilt, not panic. Their case, a fatal act followed by a cover-up. The defense, led by Alan Jackson and David Yannetti, told a story of conspiracy and cover-up. They argued O'Keefe was beaten inside the house, not struck by Read's SUV. The defense attacked the police investigation as sloppy and corrupt, bringing in experts to challenge the state's findings. They suggested others at the party, including Brian Higgins, had motive and opportunity. Deleted calls and suspicious internet searches by partygoers fueled their theory. The defense claimed evidence was planted to frame Read, and cell phone data contradicted investigators' accounts. Their closing Karen Read was a scapegoat, not a killer. On June 25, 2024, after 7 weeks of testimony, the jury began deliberations. 12 citizens faced the daunting task of deciding between two irreconcilable stories. Judge Cannon's instructions emphasized the presumption of innocence and the high burden of proof. The courthouse was tense as the jury reviewed evidence and witness testimony in secret. Observers speculated, were jurors united or divided? Was a verdict close? After the first day, no decision, just a note to be dismissed for the evening. For the families, it meant another night of anxious waiting. The fate of Karen Read and the legacy of JohnOKeefe hung in the balance. The Karen Read trial became a national phenomenon, raising questions about justice and public opinion. The case's drama and competing narratives polarized the public. Social media and independent creators fueled debate, sometimes outpacing traditional news. Supporters rallied daily outside the courthouse, amplifying the case's reach. Allegations of a cover-up resonated with those skeptical of law enforcement. The trial sparked debate about police accountability and prosecutorial conduct. Regardless of the verdict, the case forced a reckoning with trust in the justice system. It's a story about truth, division, and the power of narrative. The outcome will echo far beyond Canton. As of June 14, 2025, the jury continues deliberations. Their unanimous decision on each charge will determine Read's fate. If found not guilty, Read walks free, her ordeal over. A guilty verdict means sentencing and possible life in prison. The O'Keefe family would give victim impact statements. The defense would argue for leniency. There's also the possibility of a hung jury and mistrial, forcing prosecutors to decide whether to retry the case. For now, all eyes remain on 12 jurors, tasked with delivering justice. The community waits, divided and anxious. The verdict will shape lives, reputations, and the public's faith in the system. The story of Karen Read and JohnOKeefe is not just about guilt or innocence. It's about what justice means in America today.